Book review, Fortress of Evil. A Terra Alta investigation by Javier Cercas. Introduction. Javier Cercas, one of Spain's most formidable literary voices, continues his foray into the noir-tinged world of crime fiction with Fortress of Evil. Terra Alta Investigation, El Castillo Barbazul in the original Spanish. This novel is the third entry in the Terra Alta series and follows Melchor Marín, former Barcelona police officer who has made new as rural detective in Catalonia's remote Terra Alta region. While the first two books laid the foundation of Melchor's transformation and his struggle with identity, Fortress of Evil dives deeper into questions of justice, personal obsession, and the gray zones of moral responsibility. This review will explore the specific aspects that make Fortress of Evil an ambitious and engrossing novel. Its narrative structure, character development, thematic layers, evocative setting, and Cercas' unique prose style. Plot summary. In Fortress of Evil, El Castillo Barbazul, Javier Cercas returns to the brooding and principled world of Melchor Marín, former convict-turned-cop living in the rugged Catalonian region of Terra Alta, while the previous books in the series laid the foundation for Melchor's transformation. From youth scarred by violence to man seeking redemption through justice. This third installment pushes him further into personal and moral territory. Start of the novel, Melchor has built a relatively peaceful life for himself and his young daughter, Cosette, named after the character in Les Miserables, which remains guiding text for him. Though still working as police officer, he is emotionally distanced from the day-to-day routine of law enforcement. His priorities have shifted inward, toward fatherhood, introspection, and quiet existence in Terra Alta. But the calm is disrupted when Melchor receives a letter from a desperate woman named Angela. Her daughter, university student named Lydia, has disappeared without trace. The authorities believe the young woman ran off voluntarily and have closed the investigation. Yet Angela's letter, direct and emotionally charged plea. It's Melchor like Joel. He is not assigned to the case, nor is it within his jurisdiction. But something about Lydia's disappearance, too familiar, too unjust to ignore. Driven by instinct and moral compulsion, Melchor begins an unofficial investigation. His inquiry leads him to Madrid and then to wealthy, secretive enclave where the elite reside behind literal and metaphorical walls. This fortress becomes the focal point of the novel. Not only is physical space hiding the truth, but a symbol of unchecked privilege, silence, and complicity. As Melchor delves deeper, he discovers that Lydia was last seen in the company of a prominent and powerful man with ties to politics, media, and wealth. The trail is chilling and leads to the realization that Lydia's disappearance may be part of a larger, darker pattern. Confronted with this knowledge, Melchor is forced to weigh the risks of pushing forward. He knows that exposing the truth could cost him his career and even his life. But walking away would betray everything he believes in. One of the most compelling aspects of Fortress of Evil is how Cercas structures the investigation. Rather than focusing solely on forensic evidence or procedural steps, the narrative is filtered through Melchor's philosophical reflection and emotional unraveling. The novel is not just about what happened to Lydia, but about why it matters, and who gets to decide what justice looks like. Melchor's past looms large throughout the book. His mother, a prostitute murdered when he was young, still haunts him. His criminal past is never far behind. His sense of justice is deeply personal, rooted in wounds that have not healed. The case reawakens those ghosts, particularly the theme of invisible women. Though society forgets, devalues, or erases, as Melchor pushes deeper into the heart of the fortress, both literally and symbolically, he confronts only the perpetrators of violence, but the structures that allow such violence to thrive. Cercas masterfully builds tension without sacrificing nuance. The plot moves steadily but with room for introspection. Through Melchor's eyes, we see how the pursuit of truth is both noble and corrosive. The more he learns, the more isolated he becomes. The novel's climax is subtle rather than explosive. There is no grand shootout or dramatic arrest. Instead, justice is meted out in shadows and silences and decisions made off the page. Melchor emerges not as triumphant hero, but as man who carries the cost of his convictions. He protects his daughter. He uncovers the truth, but at personal cost that leaves deep mark. By the novel's end, Fortress of Evil is less whodunit than a meditation on evil. How it hides, how it's rationalized, and how difficult it is to uproot when embedded in power. Melchor Marín remains singular figure in contemporary crime fiction. Vulnerable, literate, morally upright, but psychologically fractured. His pursuit of justice is never simple, and Cercas ensures the reader feels the weight of that complexity. Narrative structure, unconventional and compelling. Cercas constructs the novel with a deliberate pace, weaving between linear investigation and flashbacks that deepen our understanding of Melchor's motivations. The narrative structure mirrors Melchor's own psyche. careful unlayering of trauma, grief, and the dogged pursuit of justice. What sets Fortress of Evil apart from conventional detective novels is its refusal to be confined by the genre. Cercas allows a space for philosophical introspection and historical reflection, all without compromising narrative tension. Chapters often end not with cliffhangers, but with contemplative pauses, letting the reader sit with moral dilemma or disturbing realization. This structural rhythm challenges the reader to pay attention, to read not just for what happens next, but for what it all means. It is a rare blend of genre fiction and literary depth. Character development. Melchor Marín, the reluctant hero Melchor Marín, remains one of the most fascinating characters in contemporary European crime fiction. Former convict turned cop, Melchor is a man constantly at war with himself. He is a voracious reader. Thus Miserables is a sacred text, and his moral compass is shaped more by literature than by any institutional code. In Fortress of Evil, we witness Melchor in a new stage of life, more mature, more guarded, and yet just as willing to risk everything for what he believes is right. His character is written with remarkable psychological realism. He is not just solving crime, he is navigating the emotional labyrinth left behind by the discipline of his mother, his time in prison, and his ongoing struggle to shield his daughter from the darker parts of his past. Supporting characters, while not as fully realized as Melchor, serve important thematic roles. The woman whose daughter is missing, for example, is not merely a plot device but a mirror of Melchor's own maternal loss. Likewise, the antagonists in the novel are rendered with just enough ambiguity to complicate easy judgments. Thematic exploration. Evil, just as in power as the title suggests, evil is central theme. But Cercas isn't interested in simplistic portrayals. He probes the idea of evil as something institutional, banal, seductive, and often justified under the guise of order or privilege. The novel repeatedly asks, what makes a person or society evil? Is it action, inaction, or belief? Melchor's investigation leads him to confront people who exist above the law, insulated by wealth and influence. The fortress is both literal and symbolic. Place where evil festers because no light can penetrate. This exploration touches on Spain's own sociopolitical past, especially its legacy of dictatorship and unaccountability. Another major theme is justice versus revenge. Melchor is often compared to Jean Valjean, and like Hugo's here, he is caught between redemption and retribution. Cercas invites the reader to consider whether moral clarity can exist in a world where institutions fail and the law serves the powerful. Setting, Terra Alta and beyond. While the novel begins in Terra Alta, the investigation takes Melchor far afield, notably to enclaves of affluence and secrecy. Yet even as the geographic focus expands, the spirit of Terra Alta, place of quiet dignity, rugged terrain, and haunting history, remains the novel's emotional center. Cercas paints the landscapes of rural Catalonia with textured intimacy. The region is not just backdrop but character. In itself, shaped by war, memory, and resilience, the contrast between Terra Alta and the fortified mansions of the elite underlines one of the novel's central tensions, the gap between those who are seen and those who are invisible. Language and translation. Prose with purpose. Cercas's prose is elegant yet unadorned, often more akin to literary fiction than standard crime writing. He does not waste words, but neither does he rush. Each sentence is carefully constructed, balancing clarity with philosophical resonance. The English translation by Anne MacLean deserves praise for capturing this subtlety. MacLean, who has translated all the Terra Alta novels, renders Cercas's voice with fluency and precision. She maintains the introspective tone and dry humor without losing the cultural nuance. It's translation that reads not like conversion, but like an echo of the original voice. Philosophical dimensions. A crime novel that thinks what makes Fortress of Evil truly exceptional is its intellectual depth. Cercas uses the detective format as a vehicle to explore questions that rarely surface in mainstream crime fiction. What is the function of truth? Is justice a human construct or a universal ideal? What responsibilities do individuals bear when institutions fail? Melchor's internal dialogue often reads like an existential inquiry. He is reader of books, man of conscience, seeker not just of answers but of meaning. His literary allusions, particularly to Hugo, are not pretentious. They are integral to his worldview. In this way, Fortress of Evil blurs the line between crime novel and philosophical fiction. Placed within the series is the third installment in the Terra Alta series. Fortress of Evil feels like a turning point. While the first novel, Terra Alta, focused on introducing Melchor and his tortured past, and the second, Independence, centered on political corruption, this novel takes on more universal themes. It deepens our understanding of Melchor while expanding the thematic stakes. You could read this book as a standalone, but it is enriched by Melchor's backstory. The emotional payoff is greater when you understand the losses he has endured and the evolution he's undergone. With this installment, Cercas cements the Terra Alta series not only as compelling mystery saga, but as sustained meditation on justice and identity in modern Spain. Critique: where it stumbles, no novel is without its flaws. For some readers of the novel's cerebral tone may feel distancing. The focus on internal monologue and moral ambiguity can at times slow the pace. Those looking for fast, action-packed procedural drama may find Fortress of Evil too meditative. Also, the female characters, while thoughtfully conceived, sometimes feel secondary to Melchor's arc. Though Cercas clearly writes with empathy and seriousness, the novel remains primarily centered on male experience and perspective. Inclusion: a masterwork of moral crime fiction, Fortress of Evil is an extraordinary addition to Javier Cercas' already formidable body of work. It defies genre conventions while delivering taut, emotionally resonant narrative that lingers long after the final page. Cercas uses the crime novel not just to entertain but to interrogate, to make the reader think deeply about good and evil, justice and power, grief and grace. At its core, Fortress of Evil is about man who refuses to look away, and in reading it we are asked to do the same. Whether you're a fan of philosophical fiction, crime novels with literary gravitas, or simply compelling human stories, Fortress of Evil stands as formidable achievement and high point in modern Spanish literature. Rating: 4.75.